All right, Chapter 3, Planning for Contingencies. Okay. Um, Contingencies are going to happen. Okay, we're going to have a virus. That's what I tell people. The odds of each of us getting a virus in our life are very great. It's like, what are the odds we all get sick at one point or another? We know we're going to get sick. That's why we have insurance. What's the odds of getting in a car accident? Very good. That's why we have car insurance. So the odds are stuff's going to happen. Okay. So you need to come up and plan for it. Years ago, before we had IT, we really had no plan. It was kind of something happened, now we're going to recover from it. Okay? So smaller, if you read the bottom one there, smaller organizations can have a one plan for everything, which is fine. When I ran my own business, I was like the only employee. So obviously, did I really need an HR plan and all? No, I was the only employee, plus I was the owner. So it really depends on your organization. The larger you get, the more plans you need to start thinking about. So, all right. So they talk about what contingency plan. We're going to talk. They go into detail here in a second, but the statement behind it, conducting it, the business impact analysis, and all the components of it. Okay, we are going to look at each one of these, and the part that a lot of people skip is the ending part. Right there, the maintenance of the plan, and we're going to look at that here in a second as well. Okay, introductory statements of why we're doing this. It's kind of like the executive summary I talked about. Did I talk about that like in week 1 or week 2, something like that? Did I talk about executive summary in this class? I think I did. Okay, but the scope of it, what it pertains to. Now, do all these plans have to be in writing? What do you think? Should be. Yes, it should be. Are they always? No, but it should be. And testing it is also another issue. Okay. Key regulations. NIST actually has a lot of documentation about all this. NIST, National Institute of Standards. So look around there. I actually went and visited their headquarters in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and it's actually a game preserve for deer. They actually bring in deer. They're literally running all over the campus because they're protected there. They bring in wounded ones and everything else, and it's kind of cool. But NIST has lots and lots of information on there. And if you walk through their complex, and they literally have everything, like the kilo. They actually had the kilo and how it's measured, where it came from, and the ruler. They have all this stuff in there that you would never think of. We use rulers all day long, tape measures all day long, but where do they come from? What's it based upon? So it's kind of interesting. But they have all this stuff up there. Okay? So it's a good place. SANS, I don't know what SANS stands for, but SANS.org is another good one. Those between NIST and SANS, you can get everything you need for all these assignments. Okay? So contingency plan says appeal to individual members of the organization asking for support. Everybody needs to be involved in it. They really don't mention that too much in here, but actually they do here in a minute. But administrative needs to be involved, management plus technical people out there. Just everybody has to be involved. Revision dates, and again we're going to see an example one here in a minute. Okay. You should normally make a team. I was actually on a team doing this when I was at Tinker. I was on what was the name for it? Red carpet team, ours was called. The red carpet team, where if it wasn't really about an instance or a contingency, but it was if someone comes into the base and needs a facility set up. Okay, we actually got implemented. Well, it was really training more than anything. One time while I was at Tinker, and what we had to do was my job was to go around my organization and pick up specific pieces of hardware. I would grab a computer from this guy's desk, a printer from this guy's desk, a monitor from this guy's desk. So all the people on the team would grab all these different components. Then we all met at the chapel, and we all hooked them all together and literally had it up and running within a couple hours. So it's kind of like contingency, but it was all drawn out totally. I mean, exactly who got what from where. I mean, we even had letters that basically says, "I want your laptop." Yes.
This basically guarantees that, like, whoever this person isn't getting. You're like, with the components coming from different places, guarantees that there's nothing sneaky can happen.
Well, they did that, so I'm not going to go to one office and take everything. So that Office A, yes, they might lose one computer, but they still have enough components to function. So it was set up that way so you really didn't cause a major impact on one organization or one office. But I mean, it was literally had a letter from the commander says, I'm authorized to take your computer, I'm authorized to take you whatever. I mean, they would literally take network switches, they would literally take all these components, and then we actually went and set it all up and they'd come out and test it. Like that one day they actually did. They had to go to this room, be able to print a document on this printer, but same kind of thing we're talking about here. It was totally written out. There was a big old team involved, and you would hope that when something does happen, it's all been planned. You know, we have a team manages and executes the plan. Okay, disaster recovery team. What happens if there's a disaster? We hear about that all the time with FEMA. You know when we had the tornadoes go through Tinker, 95, big huge team came in, and I was actually working in the network shop at that time, and we had a computer network that had dial-in capability. We're talking 95, so the internet wasn't real popular at that point. We had a computer network that had dial-in capabilities. We were getting ready to get rid of it due to lack of use, but it was still there. So what we did is we gave it to FEMA. They were all actually able to dial in and share all the data amongst each other. So it was kind of nice for them to be able to have that available. Okay, business continuity is another big thing. How do you continue to operate when something happens? Okay, so what do you think would happen in Rose State if we lost electricity? Could we continue to operate?
Probably not, depending on the class.
Probably right. I mean, yeah, I guess we could go outside, but it's darn cold out there right now. But how could maybe our plan would be go to utilize the Dell City or the Middle City Library. I mean, I don't know what our plan is in that aspect. I would
So
hope.
be in a building even if the power's out, right? Because it's not necessarily.
Right. I mean, we could still lecture without power. But what if I needed a computer? What if advisement was going on without electricity? So, all that stuff needs to be taken into account. And we're going to talk about here later on, but do we have alternate locations to go to? All that needs to become part of it, okay? Okay, it says larger organizations have teams with distinct entities. In other words, lots of different people. You're on this team, you're on that team, you're on the next team. Smaller organizations, one person might do all of it. So, okay. So this says 4 teams might overlap. So contingency planning, a big, big deal. And again, it really depends on the size of your organizations. All right, so we have our contingency planning, we have our business impact. What is it going to do to organization? The incident response plan. That's the part you guys can work on, which is just a portion of it. And we're going to cover each one again. Okay. Form the team, develop the policy, conduct the business impact analysis. So when I got this team, is that going to fuck them? Interfere with the normal operation in an office? Yeah, all that's going to happen. So business impact analysis. If I came and took your computer, what would that do to your office? So if I went into the main business division office over and took one computer, could they continue?
Probably.
Sure, they could. But what if I took Stephanie's computer and she was working on some travel arrangements and they were all stored on that computer? So, you could see how it could affect, and you need to take that into account. What would it affect? Okay. So determine mission, business processes, and recovery capabilities. Can you continue at that point? Select, resource requirements. What do you need? And a lot of times it comes down to is what's the bare minimum. When we upgraded the PeopleSoft system, which is where you all enroll in classes and scheduling, when we upgraded that 2 years ago, I think, what they did is they took the old system, put it, I think it's in the basement of the now the Huderberg Center, and it's set up so they could do payroll and enrollment. I mean, literally a little small network is set up where they could, put a backup, restore a backup onto it, and be able to do basic payroll and enrollment. Do they really need everything else? Probably not. But the moment people realize you can't pay them, that becomes an issue. And basic enrollment is an issue as well. So that is what they kind of did. They did, resource requirements. What do we really technically need to keep this place running? So that's part of ours. Okay. Prioritize. It says form subordinate planning teams. Maybe you don't need a subordinate team, or maybe you do. It really depends. Okay. Integrate it all together. Identify controls. So lots of different aspects. And the last one, which again a lot of people skip, is you make this plan and it never gets updated. We got our Center of Academic Excellence certification. And then 4 years later, I came out and had to do it again. Why do you think we had to redo it? What do you think? Anybody?
It expires.
It expires, but why would they expire? Okay, why are they making the A+ exam now expire? Does anyone know?
Because things are changing.
Things change.
Because of
They want to make sure you're keeping current on the technologies, and things change. So it's the same way with our certification. Things change. You don't want someone who's been certified in 100 years. Another example is cars. I used to work on cars all the time. I did all the work on a car. But I'm willing to bet, the old, I don't know what year it was, probably 1980 Toyota Corolla is a little bit different than my Chevy Volt. I'm assuming I probably could have found the oil filter, but not too much beyond that. So things change. So planned maintenance, it always needs to be updated. Is it still good today? What if our plan said install McAfee version 3? Well, now we're on a totally different system. So it does change. Okay. So the business impact analysis serves as an investigation and assessment of the impact of various adverse events can have. So what could a virus affect? Well, it could affect, obviously, email for the entire campus, which in turn can affect all kinds of other components. Okay, so could be a lot. How about a flood? Do you think we could have a flood here on campus? I mean, we're not in New Orleans, but our LRC was actually lower. So if the outside part of the campus flooded, the LRC would actually be partially underwater, because the building was lower rather than higher. I didn't ever realize it, but when they started doing the work on it, they found that the foundation was rotting away due to always being in the water. So, but yeah, so it really, really matters. And tornadoes, did y'all, I guess this weekend, a Royal Caribbean cruise ship went through a tornado, 150 mile per hour winds. Happened this weekend. And I guess they told all the passengers, go into your rooms and don't come out. I guess the ship got damaged, but everybody's fine. The ship's even still sailing. So, yeah, I don't know. Did they have a contingency plan for that? I mean, obviously their business in that case is cruising. Okay, did it get impacted at all? Yeah, they showed all kinds of broken components on the ship. So, all right, a lot of different components, and risk is a big issue of it. Okay. How are you going to condition? Identify threats, vulnerabilities, viruses, all that kind of, like denial of service. That's kind of where I got your assignment from. Is that a risk? Technically, yes, it really is. I'm assuming there's people hitting our network all the time. Maybe not as much as Devin, but they are hitting it. Okay. It says so the business impact assumes that your controls have been bypassed. So someone broke in. Now what do we do to fix it? Okay. All right, here's different components of it. You should have the scope, the plan, the balance, the know the objective, the follow-up. Okay, lots of different things should pertain to it. Okay. All right. Again, I want to cover these kind of quickly. You guys can look over more details if you want. It says determine the mission, business process, and recovery capabilities. Can we live without this computer? Yes, we could, but for how long? That's another question. Okay. Could we get a new one? We actually had a camera in the hallway that's been down for months. So, was it really affecting our business? No. But was it affecting security? I would say yes. So we actually put in the request to get it fixed. And funny thing, this morning they actually finally came out to swap out the camera and found the connector was just loose. So they literally just put the connector in, and now it's up and running just fine. So they really could have fixed it a long time ago, but it was just kind of funny. So it didn't affect our business, but technically it could, because we have had a lot of stuff got stolen here before. So, all right. So how could we recover from that camera? Well, there's no real recover involved, except that it is deterring theft. By the way, they all are functioning again, so no stealing now. They're all working now. So, all right. So resource requirements, what's required, okay? Recovery priorities, what is the number one? So I'm assuming they're all adults in here now, no high schoolers. What is it? Food, shelter, and clothing are the three biggies. Okay, you need food, you need shelter, you need clothing. Do you need internet?
No.
Yes.
No. It depends on what you're doing with your life.
Right, but I mean, if it came down to it, and I'm broker than broke, or some major catastrophe happened. Really, food, shelter, and clothing is what we need. I guess you really don't need clothing. You ever seen that show,
Naked and
Afraid? That's one bizarre show. So it really gets down to what do you need to continue to function. Okay, internet. If that's part of your business model, then yes, but not always. Really depends what it would be. Okay. Okay. It says each business department, unit, or division must be evaluated. Look at everything. Okay. Do we really? I mean, is mowing the grass a critical business need? No. Tinker last year when they were short of funding, they I forget the time period, but rather than mowing the grass weekly, they went to once a month. So when I hired a guy to mow my lawn, he used to mow it every week. But I said, I want you to start mowing it every other week because it wasn't. He's like, yeah, but then it's gonna be so much taller. I'm gonna have to charge you double. So it was, But what, everything needs to be looked at. So, and if it came down to funding, like here at Rose State, we're really short on money. So where should we get money from? Should we take it away from computers? I could see getting rid of some computers on campus. Well, they're not replacing some positions that are empty, so that's one place they're getting it from. But every area needs to be looked at. Okay, the mission business process. Okay, it says it's frequently used. It describes a task performed by an organization in a subunit in support of the mission. So, advisement. That would be a task that happens on campus to support the mission of teaching students. So that's how you could look at that. Avoid turf wars. We kind of have that here. We have the humanities, we have the social science, we have the math and science, and the business. We're all our own separate entities, but there's always some issues between different areas. So ours aren't bad, but so and so can do this. How come we can't here? Yeah, just stuff to think about. So, okay. A weighted analysis table, which is going to show us an example here in a minute, but everything needs to be evaluated and put down on writing. Okay. Keep track of what their functions are, impact the functions have on the business. Do we technically need to mow the grass to teach students? No. But I could just see you guys coming here if the looked like crap. Yeah, I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, if you've never been to OKCCC, you should go look at it. It's actually a very nice looking campus. They look so much better than we do. Now we're fixing ours, but it's take money, take time. So, there's a lot of issues that you don't really think about. Like over the holidays, winter months, we have some people that come in and plow snow. This year they haven't had to do that, but we have people that do that because if you think about it, in the summertime, not so much of a big impact, but in the wintertime it is. So. I was complaining this year because Christmas lights were up until like the day before class started. Literally, when we started the 19th, I think the 18th, they finally got the last Christmas lights down. I was like, why? Why do you think that happened? Anybody know? Well, because they took away the overtime of the part-time hourlies that would remove the lights. So really, rather than having 50 people remove lights, they had 1 or 2 people remove lights. So, yeah, they got done, but okay. Key recoverable measures, maximum tolerable downtime. How long do you think we could live without electricity? I would say it really depends on the time of year. Well, okay, right across the hall, I don't know if you noticed it, but we happen to have the science department's animal menagerie over there. We have snakes and turtles and all kinds of other stuff over there. How long could they live without electricity? That water's got to be filtered, and so. Maximum amount of time a system owner is willing to accept downtime. Okay? No one wants downtime, but you have to be able to accept some. Okay. Recovery time objectives. Maximum amount of time that the system resource can remain unavailable before it is unacceptable. Okay. Recovery point of time prior to a description of system outage to which the mission business process can be recovered after an outage. In other words, once we're back up, how long does it take? Alright, work recovery time, amount of effort it would take to get it back up after it's been recovered. So there's, did you miss anything? Did something happen while you were down? What's it going to take to get you up and running? Stuff like that. Okay. Most of this stuff, most organizations wouldn't even worry about. Like, would I really worry about the work recovery time? I'd probably be more worried about just getting it back online then how long would it actually take to recover from being down? Okay. All right, here's the cost balance point. How much money are you willing to spend? If you have enough money, you could pretty much do everything. You could outsource everything. You could have the best. And you're looking at the picture here. So cost to recover from a tape backup is darn cheap. Okay. But, a system mirror is darn expensive. But which one's better? A mirrored system is much better, but now you have to have duplicates of everything. Okay. Y'all know the difference, I hope. Okay. Tape backup might take forever, but it is very cheap. So it really depends on how much money and the cost that you're willing to live with. Okay. All right. Resource requirements. It says once a priority list of business and mission has been created, you determine what's important, basically. Okay. IT functions, is that important? Yes. Is maintenance functions not so much? But not IT related. The health and the HES building where the Fab Lab is, some of you might know where that is. They have no air conditioning right now. So is that an issue? Not an issue, but the same system provides heat. So they have no heat. So what they have is a whole bunch of portable heaters all over the building now. So they're going to be good, they're thinking, until about May 1st. And what happens May 1st? Then you need the air conditioning. So it's at the point where the entire system has to be replaced. So, you wouldn't think, it really depends on the time of the year. Air conditioning goes off, no big deal. Actually, my backup generator at home quit working about 2 weeks ago. Have not fixed it yet. Am I still being able to live in my house? Yes. And right now, there's no real storms going on, so I'll probably wait until a storm is about to hit and it's really cold outside before I actually go out and fix the darn thing. So, but some, different things you need to think about. Okay. All right. Here's our nice little chart. Okay. It says customer provides support, help desk, or you can outsource. It gets a lot cheaper or a lot more expensive, but lots of different components there. You can look through all these. Got to finish this chapter still. Okay. Prioritizing resources associated with it, and which resources are more expensive. Okay, we're not going to go into. We talked about some of these somewhat already anyway. Okay. Alright, and we kind of mentioned all that already as well. Here's where this is where your assignment's going to be. Incident response plan. A detailed set of processes and procedures that anticipate, detect, and mitigate the effects of an event. Okay? Unexpected event. In this case, you guys know the event is going to be distributed in an aisle of service. So, come up with the 3 aspects, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Okay. It says you should prepare for it, which is what you guys are doing, hence the plan. Okay. Carefully planned and coordinated. Now, in the real world, if you're actually making a incident response plan for distributed denial of service, it would probably be quite detailed, have a lot of people involved. Again, I don't want yours that detailed, just put some thought into it. Okay. All right. Getting started, we need to have a team. You guys are the entire team for this. That's one thing that, again, really defines, is defined by how big your organization is. Okay. What are they going to do? You're probably going to have 15 meetings to get to that point. Okay. It says articulate the various types of incidents out there. Again, you guys are only working on one, but there are lots of them out there. Are you ever going to be able to anticipate all of them? No, because there's always something new, especially in the IT area. Okay. Advise end users on how to contribute to the expected response. You could kind of think that's in training. So don't click on unapproved emails. That would be one way they can assist in preventing this stuff. Okay. All right. So we should have a statement of commitment. You always need that from your management. Okay. Kind of like when we did our red carpet team, we had a letter from the commander saying, "Give this man what he needs." Okay. So it shows that I had support. Okay. Purpose and objectives. Why are we doing this? What are the scopes of it? Definitions of the terms, so a lot of different items here. Okay. The rules, responsibilities, level of authority, prioritization, performance, reporting and contact forms. And so there's a lot of different aspects where, again, I don't need all those in detail, I just want some. Okay. Just like I told you on your assignment, you need to think about 3 things. 3 different procedures basically. During, after, and before. All those needs to be included. Okay. Here's the example figure 3-4 I was telling you about. So before an attack, don't put suspicious disk sets into your computer, so on and so forth. Okay. After attack, scan your computer for additional viruses. Maybe during the attack, if your antivirus software detects an attack, it will delete the virus and quarantine the file that carries it. So, something similar to this needs to be included with yours. Okay. It's pretty basic. Okay. Classify your instance. Again, yours has already been classified. Okay. But what are some of the ones available? Okay, some of the indicators. How do we know we're infected with a virus? Well, there could be unfamiliar files. Our antivirus could have told us. Our system could be slow. You could put different things that are affecting how it's running. Okay, presence or execution of unknown programs or processes. Okay, unusual consumption of resources. Unusual system crashes. Any of these things. You know, I use an app on my phone that has been crashing ever since they updated it. Yeah, it happens all the time. So I actually reported it to the company. They're like, yeah, we know about it. We're so sorry. But again, if no one had reported it to them, you know, they wouldn't know to fix it. And if I wasn't aware or know what the heck I was doing, I might not even realize it was just that app. I could have, you know, thought it was something else. So, okay. Probable indicators, activities. We already talked about those. Okay. Report attacks. Is there, like when the Code Red virus came out back years ago, is it affecting anybody else or is it just us? Okay. When I ran my ISP, that friend of mine called me, you know, after I had fixed my ACLs, but he had called me and was like, hey, did you get hit by the SQL, the Slammer, I think it was called, wasn't it? But I said no, because I modified my ACL differently. Originally, I don't know if I told this class, but when I ran my internet service provider, I used the configuration from a friend of mine that ran one, basically mirrored it. But I thought the plane was stupid, so I fixed it. What he had was his ACL was, he said, allow everything in but block the bad stuff. Okay? So, you know, since he wasn't sure what his customers would need, he let them do everything, just block the stuff that's bad. But that's a bad idea, because the bad stuff changes all the time. Hence the SQL virus, it took him offline because it was something new. I modified mine to block everything and allow in the good stuff. What I did was I scanned my network for a couple of weeks to see what my customers were using, and then made sure they could continue with that. And I did really good, with one exception. Some of you in Bill Rich's Unix Linux class, he hadn't used his VPN that entire time when I was scanning. So I basically blocked it because I didn't think anybody needed it. And then he needed it. I'm like, oh, but I was very easily able to allow that as a good process in rather than work the other way. So, okay. All right. Indicators, use of dormant accounts. Maybe you got an account that hasn't been used in 6 months. You can actually track that. Changes to logs. Presence of hacker tools, and a lot of this stuff is done automatically now, which is good. Okay, and your automatic tools can actually pinpoint some of this stuff to you. Okay, notification by a hacker or by partners. Other things, occurrence of actual incidents, loss of availability, loss of integrity, confidentiality, violation. There's a lot of stuff that will actually happen if anything like this goes about. Okay. Alright, moves from the detection phase to the reaction phase. What do you do now? You tell everybody. When I was in the military, we had a, what do they call it? When we got called up, it was basically multiple times a year, the commander would call the supervisors, who would call the next level down, and basically all had to be at work within like 30 minutes or something. But, there you go, recall. I couldn't think of that word. Yes. Kind of what you're talking about here. We had an incident, so what do we do about it? We need to inform people. Obviously, the president of the college should know. The head of IT should know. And I'm assuming some of you have gotten emails from our IT department about don't click on certain emails. They send it to students?
There was one recently where it's like a fake one going around or something. I'm trying to think what it was.
The help desk or something, wasn't it?
Something. It was some kind of support one.
Okay.
It was like, hey, don't click on that link because it's not from us.
All right. So if we had not told them about it, then like when it did come out, I had already received an email from a VP on campus where they clicked on the link. So I then informed IT services, hey, you might want to go clean such and such's computer, and they said, yeah, we already know about it. They're already quarantined their account. So again, notify people who's going to fix it, document it out. That's where I suck the worst. Most people do the documentation. I'm so bad on I'll fix a problem and then move on. But if you don't write down what you did to fix it, next time you have the same problem, guess what? Figure it all out again. So I tell people when they write software, if you don't put comments in it, 6 months from now, you're going to remember what the heck you wrote. Probably not. So. Alert roster, that's what we use in the military. This is documenting and contact information for everybody. We have a roster basically in our main office, which has everybody's contact information. Now, does the dean take it home with him? Probably not, but he knows at least the emails and phone numbers of everybody. The message, the description of the incident, which is kind of what you guys have received before, about that helped this virus. As soon as it's been confirmed, documentation should begin. Because you need to keep track of everything. Who, what, where, when, why, and everything pertaining to it. Okay. If you need to, you can disable accounts, reconfigure firewalls to block this latest threat. Okay. That's, I love working in IT, but that's one thing that sucks is it's changing so frequently. We're always behind the curve on stuff. Okay. It says take down the conduit application or servers. That's an issue. We've done it here on campus before. I remember when I Love You came out, I was working here at the time. They actually had to take the email server offline because there was so much of that going through it. They had to take it offline until they could go clean the infected computers and clean the email system. So, yep, but it can happen. Okay. Stop all computers, and you ever heard of the NIMD virus? Okay. I was actually working on the NIMD virus, and for a company across town, the way it worked was it went through email, it went through file shares, it went through attachments, it went through 3 different ways. But to clean it, you have to get rid of your connectivity, then clean each device. And I had like 3/4 of them done. And I went home one night and I said, I'll be back in the morning. Well, the owner really had to do something, so powered up the switches again and then infected everything again. I'm like, well, I had to do this. Well, it sucks, but really you need to turn it all off until it's all fixed. But yeah, it was a pain in the butt. Okay? All right. Recovering. It says once instance has been contained, now we use our recovery plan. How do you get back online? Restore from backup or whatever we're doing at that point. First task to inform human resources. Okay, I don't know if that would be my first task, but again, this is just what the book recommends. Must assess the full extent. What was damaged? What happened? What were people hurt? This doorway right out here. We had one of the row state employees tripped on one of the tiles that keeps sticking up. And it was amazing. Right after that, they came over and replaced a whole bunch of them. But if you come up here on a Friday, every Friday they come in and remove about 20 tiles that start popping up during the week. That's great. Were you here Friday? This Friday? I missed it this last Friday. They did a bunch, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They were in the way and they were being annoying.
Yeah, they were all over the place. But the point is that
do it right. They wouldn't have to worry about it.
That lady about hurt herself. Jerry Tittle, an accountant that's no longer here, when I used to be in 131, walked in my office one day with those kind of chairs y'all are sitting in, and she caught her foot in there and fell down and broke her elbow and her wrist. It popped and broke in 2 different places. So I'll tell you, that made a big incident out of that, and that HR was involved because she was put on workman's comp and all this other stuff. So, so what happened? Did it affect confidentiality, integrity, and availability? Hers didn't, but if it was maybe a virus, it would at that point. Okay. Recovery says identify their vulnerabilities, fix them. What's wrong with your safeguards? We have an iron port firewall here, but is it configured correctly to catch all of them? I don't know. I would say no. I don't think it's updated frequently enough. Okay. Restore data from backups. Did anything get corrupt? Okay. Y'all have backup services at your house? Anybody? Does anybody have a backup service at their house?
Yeah, I have to do it personally. Like I've had to actually.
Copy files up
Yeah.
somewhere? Okay. What do you use? You use one? Backup drive? How about you?
I have a couple of different ones. I use a bunch of different cloud
Okay.
storages like Mega and
Any of them automated though?
yes.
Yeah. I use Carbonite. I don't know if you ever heard of Carbonite. I pay $54 a year. Totally backs up everything. Unlimited space. I have like 2 terabytes backed up from my home computer. Yeah. The reason I got that was the salesman, when I used to take care of a company, came out and gave a presentation to one client. Sounded great, and I'm glad we did, because shortly after that we had a loss. And one of my other clients, signed up for it as well. And shortly after that, they were a title service company, basically like a mortgage title clearing, but they do it for aircraft. Well, they accidentally deleted like the letter A. What they would do is they would save titles based on the first letter of alphabetical, but the A came from, I don't know if it was the search name or the client name, but they basically deleted an entire letter. And it had years and years of title history. And the reason they needed it was, say you're going to go out and buy a new airplane. Well, you need to, not new, a used airplane, you need to be able to track that title back. And if they had all that in documentation, they could find it very easily. Well, they deleted it all. But we had the backup service. And they called me freaking out, oh my God, we just deleted all the letter A, or whatever letter it was at the time. What are we going to do? Because they originally had everything on a hard copy that they converted to electronic. So I went in remotely into the server, went into the backup software, and clicked on the A and hit restore. And I said, give it 20 minutes, and it was done. And they were like, what did you do? It's all back. I said, that's that service you've been paying for every month? And I still remember, she's like, okay, that was awesome. We need to make sure that's funded for sure every year. Because I say you don't realize it until you actually need it. It's like when we had that 6-day power outage a few years ago. I had my backup generator that ran the entire time. That was awesome. $400 gas bill, but I didn't have to lose power. I didn't have to go sleep in a hotel. I didn't have to replace my food. So at that point, it's nice. Okay. So all right. So restore from backup, restore services, continue to monitor, make sure you got it all, because a lot of times you don't get it all, especially when it comes to viruses, stuff like that. Restore the confidence in the members. That's also another biggie. The confidence is what gets hurt a lot, and it's hard to get that back. Okay. After action review. What happened? How can we prevent it next time? Do you have to involve law enforcement? Okay. Again, I don't want to cover this. I gotta get out. What? Oh, we got half an hour, don't we? Okay. 11 to 12:15. Oh, we got plenty of time. We're gonna be fine. Okay. But law enforcement. Do you need to bring? First of all, do you bring in law enforcement? What do you think?
Depends on what it is.
Depends on what it is, exactly.
If it's cyber espionage, most definitely.
Yeah. Or maybe, do we bring in the Middle City Police Department or the OSBI? Or the FBI? Or Secret Service? Really depends what it is. Child pornography, obviously Secret Service. So it really depends who they are. And if you don't notify them, you could be in trouble. When I had my Discover card stolen for thousands of dollars, I was told to go file a police report. Guess what the police told me? We can take a report from you. You're not responsible. Because technically I'm not. Discover was responsible. So Discover had to file a police report. I couldn't. So, but again, notify them. So I would say it's always a good idea to notify them. But way back when I was running my ISP, we had some credit card numbers get stolen based on a SQL injection attack for a piece of software we used. Okay? And we notified the police, and we actually had to take the server, send it to New York. And they kept it for 2 weeks. And then sent it back. And he was down for a very long period of time. He says he would never report it again. Most of them aren't reported. Believe it or not, most cyber incidents are not reported because downtime.
Did you watch the thing that I
No,
sent you?
I wasn't.
Yeah, because that would tie into here about this.
Maybe I'll put that link up here so we all can see it. But really,
Video or whatever.
yes.
It's not a YouTube video.
It's about China.
It's a Dateline thing that covers China cyber espionage and how most people do not report it.
Because there's too many issues when you report it. She sent me the link. I'll put it up on the page so y'all can see it.
I sent it to you like forever ago. You
Well,
still haven't watched it.
Yeah, I realize I sit around and do nothing all day long, but
I know, because I ask you so many questions.
but if you think about it, if you're a small company, and you report it, then all of a sudden your credit card company knows about it, and everybody knows about it. It's just a really big hassle. So, all right, disaster recovery. Okay, it says first of all, what happened? Okay, how are you going to recover? Is it natural? Is it human made? Obviously, tornado wipes out Rose State. A little bit bigger of a disaster than something else. So, what do you do in that plan? Okay, here it goes. A malicious program evades containment action and infects, disables many of the most of the systems on your network. So, what do we do about that? How do we recover from it? Okay.
Call Ken.
Yeah. That is, I would say, one of the best benefits of selling my company. I don't have to answer the phone at night. Because I have a couple students who still message me at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I don't have to answer it if I don't feel like it. I can go on vacation and turn my phone off. So, tell you, you don't know what it's like until you're on call 24/7, 365. I mean, literally, it gets old. Okay, so what do we, first of all, we make our team, come up with a plan, review it, the business impact analysis, review, identify controls. Do you have any in place? Do you have antivirus in place? I mean, a lot of companies didn't have one. I had a company who ran e-machines. You want to remember e-machines? They were the only machine that were so cheap, if you have any issues with it, you bring it back to Best Buy, they just give you a new one. They don't even try to fix it. But they sucked. And this same company at the time ran basically AVG free. It's like, you're a company. You really need to be running something a little bit better than that. Okay? So come up with strategies, get your document, test it, training, and then keep up with the plan as well. So a lot of components of it. Purpose, scope. Eileen class actually had you make a disaster recovery policy. I'm not making you do that. What now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just making you an instance response plan. It's a little bit different. Okay. Roles and responsibilities. Who's going to do what? Training requirements, and that's one area on campus where we fail miserably. Okay. I think most places fail miserably. Are people trained enough? Part of it is because of turnover. I said before, McDonald's has a 600% turnover rate. So how could they possibly train everybody correctly? They can't. There's really no way. What is it? Chipotle closed today at lunchtime. Did you hear that? Big E. coli outbreak.
Again?
No. This is a little while back. But today at lunchtime, they're closing down every single store for mandatory food and health training.
What they find?
Another mutated version of the E. coli that they found previously.
So yeah, today is just training. In my opinion, training's important, but it's more about image. Yes, we have trained every person. We are safe now. Come back and spend your money here.
Until they hire 7 more people, and then those people don't get the proper training.
So, all right.
E. coli spreads.
So exercise, testing, maintenance, special considerations. When I first asked about ours here at Rose State, we had none. Literally, no disaster recovery plan, other than it was in their heads. Can I see it in writing? Well, we don't have it in writing. Well, there's a lot of components to not have in your head. Not have in writing. So, I definitely complained about that. Okay, disaster. Are they, fast or slow? A flood, obviously, where a tornado could be fast, where something else could be slow. Okay. Slow onset, over time, gradually degrade, and what was it? The OPM, Office of Personal Management, the theft of all those identities, which one of them was mine. They said that it actually happened for years prior to being detected. So it's like, wow. So slow and steady wins the race. Okay, roles and responsibilities. Execution of it. How does all this stuff happen? Okay. Priorities, procedures, all that stuff needs to be, written down. Alternative implementation in case something doesn't work right. Okay. I just gave all the answers. Okay.
I figured.
Plans.
Watch the video later.
Traditional data backups. At Rose State here, we were limited to 20 meg email account size. And if you really needed it, they could upgrade you to 100 megs. But it was like you had to get permission to have that big of one. Anyone know why they would be limiting on what we could have?
Because of how much storage.
Because how much, it was really the backup. Our backup system backs up every night. But it was at the point where it started and then it would finish just before the next day started. So if it gets any larger, it's not going to be able to finish backing up. So meantime, they've seemed to have fixed that now. Okay. Electronic vaulting, offsite storage. That's what I do. Okay. Remote journaling says transferring live transactions to an offsite facility. So we have a backup available in PeopleSoft, but is it a daily backup, a monthly backup, or is it by the minute? I don't know, but that's all important. Okay. Data shadowing combines vaulting and remote journaling. So basically, have a copy of everything. Okay. All right. It said degree of flexibility. There should always be flexibility in everything. Okay. If facilities are intact, the team should begin restoration. If they're destroyed, you have an alternative location, which we're going to see about those here in a second. Primary site, backup sites, so on and so forth. Okay, here's an example of one. We're not going to have you write that one, but there's just some of the components. Okay, so business continuity. So how do we continue to operate? Been managed by the CEO as always. If happens, how do you continue to function? For that one, same thing. We form a team for that one, we make the policy, we review the policy, and then we end up at the end again with the maintenance. So a lot of these you'll notice they're about the same. Okay? Purpose, scope, responsibilities, all that's the same for this one as well. Continuity strategies, and this is, I was actually asked this on the CISSP exam. Hot site, warm site, cold site. Hot site, that's everything we need. It's got computers, it's got backups, it's literally ready to go. We could walk in and keep going today. Okay, doesn't really have a backup, but this is a fully configured computer facility with all services, communications in plant. What do you think, expensive?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, very expensive. Could you imagine Rose State having a hot site backup? That would basically mean another campus ready to go. You couldn't do that. You couldn't. Okay, warm site. Many of the same services as hot site, but typically software applications are not installed and configured. So you might have to come in and install your applications, but at least you got computers ready. Now, one thing they don't really mention here, but maybe we could share a warm site with somebody. Okay. Cold site, rudimentary services and facilities. So which one's cheaper? Obviously the cold site. Okay. Do we have any of those? Don't know. But one thing that, especially in education, that would be kind of cool is what if we had an agreement with OKCCC that if need be for a short period of time, we're going to utilize some of your services. I don't even know if we could. But you would think they would basically do the same stuff we do. They have classrooms and all that. So, yeah. But yeah, depending on what you want to spend, but they all cost money. Okay? You could timeshare, you could use a service bureau, you could use mutual agreements. Timeshare, you could, maybe there's one place that multiple people purchase or pay for. Okay? Just like a vacation home. Okay? Rolling mobile site says configure the payload area of the tractor trailer. So you can function, you could live out of a tractor trailer, I guess. So, the more I think about it, what would an option be for Rose State? It'd be tough. It really would. So, I don't know. I do not know what we have in place. Probably nothing. Okay. All right. Here we go. What happens? We have a denial of service attack, kind of what you guys are doing. Okay. And they have all these people. Hopefully, everybody does know what a denial of service attack is, I hope, at this point. Okay, good. Okay. It says, but may not give it. So, there's an example of what they look like. Here's one with a fire, I guess. Let's see. Disaster occurs at our primary site. We have an alternative site. They implement the plan. Continue on. Okay. All right, we have our incident response plan, disaster recovery plan, and business continuity plan. They all kind of work together. Okay, so we have an incident detection. Then how do we act to that, and how do we continue to function after that's happened? So they all work together. Okay. Crisis management. It says the action steps affecting the people inside and outside the organization. How are we going to, first of all, make people happy? I mean, not really happy, but keep people informed. Okay. It says the crisis management team supporting personnel and loved ones. What do you do about the families? A lot of aspects there, especially nowadays that the United States is all about kinder, friendlier, and crap. Okay. All right, we got a team. It says it should include individuals with all functional areas of organization. Okay. Verify employment status or personnel status, activating alert roster. Just a lot happens at that point. And there's our business recovery or resumption plan. How do we get back to normal? It says one immediately at the alternate site, one eventually back at the primary site. So in other words, get working temporarily, but how are we going to get back in here? You can kind of think that we did this already. Because remember when anyone go to school here last fall? When we were not in this building? Or was it last summer?
It was during the summer.
Okay, during the summer. Isn't this what we did? How are we going to continue to teach classes when we could not be in our primary site? We went to an alternate site, which was the HES building. How is math continuing to function right now when their building's under construction? They're everywhere. So that's kind of exactly what we did. We moved people out of their primary location, moved them into temporary locations, and let them continue to operate. And, we all complained about the whole planning process, but overall it's working. Math and science is the last building, and really they are delayed on the bottom floor there, but for the most part it's actually working. So kind of amazing. Okay, test them. First of all, look on paper, make sure they look good, walk through it, and then you can actually simulate it. A lot of this stuff you're not going to be able to simulate, but you can at least get an idea if it will work through. Maybe have a computer system. Does the backup actually work? When I took care of Chapel Supply, they sell pressure washers and stuff, had a backup. And it was funny because they kept talking about they wanted to switch accounting softwares. We're going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. But they never did it. They always kept putting it off. But we had a backup. But they lost some data. And it was funny, I was able to restore everything but the full backup. We had tested the backup, but we never tested the full backup. And the reason was the backup, the way this organization worked was, and if you ever worked with accounting software, it actually opens up multiple files at the same time, about 400 files. So one user could open up 400 files. And they had an issue with their organization. When 5 o'clock came, they would go home. They would literally stop what they're doing and go home. They would leave their computers logged in, leave the software up and running, literally roll their chairs back and go home. So what do you think the backup would do? It couldn't back everything up because some stuff was always in use. So the full backup was never completed. So when they lost something, we were trying to recover everything. I could never get the entire system recovered. So they got their new software up and running pretty quickly. So it's kind of nice. They probably would have put it off for another 10 years. So it was a good thing, but, stuff. We had a backup. We'd actually restored from the backup with no issues, but we never tested the entire full backup. So, tough stuff. Okay. Parallel testing. Individuals act as if an actual incident has occurred. Okay. Or full integration or interruption. Make sure the backup actually works and you continue to function. So, a couple different ways they can work. Okay. That is all for this chapter. Okay. Yay.
So we actually finished the slide.
Yeah, I didn't cover them all in great detail, but
They're not important. Most of those are
Yeah.
important.